Welcome friends to another Dune video. How does warfare work between the great houses? The Imperium is a delicate balance between the Emperor, his Legions of Sardaukar, and the Landsraad, the body that represents the great houses. So how was war made amongst them without disrupting this fine balance? How was a house able to grow without shedding precious human blood? A war of assassins. Spoilers for the Dune Encyclopaedia throughout, let's get into it. Decided in advance, one would send an agreed number of killers to another house to murder the targets by stealth. Once this was announced, there will be two conclusions: complete surrender, here the defeated house will be stripped of their holdings and their titles, or the extermination of that house. Only those who had been announced as targets could be killed, no outsiders. To make sure these forms were obeyed, a judge of change would be appointed via the authority of the Landsraad High Council and the Emperor. If you didn't follow the rules, the house that commits that offence could be fined, imprisoned, exiled or killed, depending on the seriousness of the breach, and the house committing that offence would be declared the loser. The circumstances for these declarations would be by houses looking to expand their interests. The Convention for Vendettas or Canley provide rigid rules regarding the procedures to follow and the weaponry that could be used. The heads of houses could face each other personally, and so the war and its effects would be limited to the nobility. There would also be clauses to stop one member of a family killing another to attain advancement. All great houses would need to hire someone to fight for them in this arena, a master of assassins such as Thufir Hawat for the Atreides, and, as is the case with him, the mentat part of the training would allow a logical defence of a family rather than an emotional one. This might also allow a mentat to think more like their enemy, to account for everything an opponent might do, without dismissing options a more emotional person would do, i.e., no one would stoop so low as to take this action. They would be able to think like them. The role would have them oversee defences for the family, supervise the house's core, and, when needed, command units of troops. When a contest was declared, it became a game between the mentat abilities of two chess players, two masters of assassins. The first war of assassins was between House Pardee and House Harkonnen. The end result was the near-total wiping out of House Pardee. Poison was the tool the Harkonnens chose, and the climax to the slaughter was the Lasgun massacre. Harkonnen mercenaries ambushed the Pardee Duke and his family where they were staying in a hunting lodge. The Harkonnens gained access to breach the security there with a functionary who they bribed to gain entry, and then the massacre began. One thing that aids assassins in the Dune universe is the handbook, a distillation of information to aid assassins with their roles in the Imperium. It is believed it was written by an assassin called Keshes Zorza, who killed members of House Ginaz, Atreides and Herzog. The Handbook of Assassins has 4 parts to it. The section on poisons gets into using them in drinks, as the world of politics in Dune is heavy on festivals and ceremony, and another, Basilia, will act quickly when injected into someone's bloodstream, and so it's a useful tool when placed on a naked blade, as it's also naked to the eye. So imagine how helpful that would be if the two heads of houses were fighting each other. A poison, Kuminon, a type of gas, can be contained and carried in capsules, and when let out, can cover a room as large as an auditorium. Duke later was given such a tooth to kill the Baron Harkonnen. It makes sense this should be best released in enclosed spaces with little ventilation to reach the highest number of targets. Another poison to consider is Zenobia. This gives great pain to its victim. Once ingested, it can be put to use in food or drink. The use of this poison is recommended in the book for when an assassin wants the victim completely at their mercy and wants to give the victim a horrible death. It might also grant the assassin an opportunity for them to get information from their victim as an aid to answer some request by their employer, or to use that information to keep themselves alive, if needed, after they have completed their contract. An assassin is generally encouraged by the book to be detached, but it also acknowledges that an assassin might want a measure of pleasure to come from their task. The next section discusses the use of weapons such as swords and lasguns, and when it's best to use each. It was expected that assassins should be given swordmaster training and develop a good ability in marksmanship, but should, as the handbook states, leave lasguns to ordinary journeymen. Part 3 covers the odds of an assassin will face in different situations, for example when murdering guests at a formal dinner and how to avoid a swift reprisal, how to successfully infiltrate a ducal palace despite shield protection, and make attacks at public events and ceremonies. The final part states the rules of the Great Convention and Code of Canale or Vendetta, and how you might get around them and find some advantage in them. Judges and those who represent houses could be bribed in relation to their dealings with the two houses. It also involves rituals, such as a formal declaration of intent to be sent to the Landsraad and the Council, as well as how to declare final victory over another house. And the book ends by telling the assassin to ensure they are protected by finding out about their employer's crimes, with the threat that the information will go public if something happens to the assassin. Now friends, I turn this over to you. What do you think to the codes surrounding assassination? Can you think of any examples from the books? Have you infiltrated a great house and used a lasgun? How messy? Comment down below.